Welcome to the rendered state. Before we begin, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. We live in the age of the self. We are obsessed with our internal lives, our traumas, our growth, and our identities. We document our journeys in journals and across digital platforms. But this inward-looking perspective hasn't always existed. For most of human history, stories were about external things, the wrath of gods, the conquest of kings, or the movement of stars. Then, in the late 4th century, a man sitting in North Africa did something revolutionary. He turned the camera around. He didn't just write a history, he wrote a confession. His name was Aurelius Augustinus, known to us as Augustine of Hippo. His book, The Confessions, is the world's first true autobiography. It is a raw, sometimes agonizingly honest account of a man trying to find out who he is and why he feels so fundamentally broken. Today, we are diving into why a 1,600-year-old text still feels like it was written yesterday. Augustine wasn't born a saint. In fact, he spends the early chapters of his book detailing just how normal and flawed he was. He was a brilliant student, a bit of a show-off, and deeply driven by his appetites. There is one story in Book 2 that has puzzled philosophers for centuries. It's the pear tree incident. When Augustine was 16, he and a group of friends broke into a neighbor's vineyard and stripped a pear tree bare. They didn't steal the pears because they were hungry. In fact, they threw the fruit to some pigs. So, why do it? Augustine dissects this moment with the precision of a surgeon. He concludes that he did it purely for the shame of it. He loved the foulness of the act. I loved my own error, not that for which I erred, but the error itself. This is where Augustine gets psychological. He is exploring the idea of gratuitous evil, the human tendency to do something wrong simply because it is forbidden. He's asking a question we still struggle with. Why do we sabotage ourselves? Why do we choose the darker path when it doesn't even benefit us? As Augustine grew older, his restlessness took a different form. He became a professor of rhetoric, essentially a master of public speaking and persuasion. He moved from North Africa to Rome, then to Milan, chasing fame and high society connections. But inside, he was in a state of intellectual vertigo. He joined a cult called the Manichaeans, who believed the world was a literal battlefield between light and dark. He then drifted into skepticism, believing that perhaps nothing could be known for certain. This section of his life is something many of us recognize today, the success trap. On the outside, he was a celebrity academic at the heart of the Roman Empire. On the inside, he was falling apart. He describes a moment where he saw a beggar on the streets of Milan who looked happier than he was. The beggar had a full stomach. Augustine only had a heavy heart. The climax of the book happens in a garden in Milan in AD 386. Augustine is having a literal breakdown. He's weeping under a fig tree, torn between his desire for a new life and his addiction to his old habits. He famously prayed, "Grant me chastity and continence, but not yet." Then, he hears a child's voice from a neighboring house, chanting over and over, "Tal, lege. Tal, lege." Pick up and read. He picks up a book of Paul's epistles, reads the first passage his eyes land on, and the restlessness finally settles. This is the moment he becomes the Augustine history remembers. But the book doesn't end with his conversion. In the final chapters, Augustine pivots to deep philosophy. He asks, what is time? He concludes that the past is just memory and the future is just expectation. Time only exists within the human mind. This is why The Confessions is a masterpiece. It connects the smallest, most private moments of a man's life, stealing pears, grieving a friend, arguing with his mother, to the vast, cosmic questions of existence and eternity. Augustine's legacy isn't just religious. He gave us the tools to look inward. He taught us that the human heart is a vast deep and that the search for meaning is, by its very nature, a restless one. As he famously wrote, "Thou hast made us for thyself, and our heart is restless until it finds its rest in thee." Whether or not you share his faith, we are all still living in the world of the self that Augustine helped build. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the classics, hit the like button and let me know in the comments. What is your pear tree moment? The thing you did that you still don't quite understand? Thanks for watching, and stay restless.